Great Nigerians and wonderful viewers, welcome to your darling station, Living Radio 90.9 and Living Television. I'm sorry you've missed this our program, Issues of the Moment, except for last week. We treated you with a medical doctor, a surgeon who handled us on prostate and prostate cancer. I'm sure you enjoyed every bit of it. Today we are back again with our studio analyst here with us. Today we'll be looking at the minimum wage that has taken the wave of the days for more than a month or two right now. Even the TUC and LLC had to embark on a 2-day strike that was eventually called off because of negotiations with the federal government. And then talking about the minimum wage, I remember some years back during the Buhari administration, they said it was going to be 30,000 naira, and I know it was never implemented, especially in this state, until this present administration. And then they've talked about 57, they've talked about 60 and 62. But the president is yet to do something about that. He has announced that he's going to pass it on to the National Assembly to approve. We're waiting on that. But before then, I have in the studio with me Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi is a historian, he's a political affairs analyst, he's also a public affairs analyst, and above all, he is a televangelist. He is a man who loves dealing with dates and numbers as a historian. Comrade, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Moderator, and for welcoming me. Good day, our listening and viewing audience.
Let me start with this. What is your understanding of this minimum wage?
My understanding of this minimum wage, I think it cuts across different segments, but I see a lot of unseriousness on the part of the government to negotiate. I mean, the will or the willingness, the zeal to negotiate is not there on the part of the government. And we've seen certain outings, especially in recent time, carried out by the government that actually point to the fact that the government is not even interested in the working condition of the working class in Nigeria or the Nigerian workforce. Let me begin by saying it. The government actually inaugurated, I think it was in either October last year or so, that the government inaugurated the tripartite committee. The tripartite committee includes, as it were, representative of the organized level, representative of the federal government, and then those of the private sector, to work out what is reasonable as minimum wage. But unfortunately, when Labour started projecting or proposing or demanding a certain fee, having used certain templates or benchmarking tools, they premised their logic on a family of 6. They say if a family of 6 is to live with the man and the wife and the children, given the hardships we are facing, part of which actually came because of the pronouncement that subsidy was gone, and then removal of subsidy on energy, and then also the floating of the naira vis-a-vis the dollar. So saying some of these policies, no matter how well intended they may be, had actually occasioned hardships. Now you are going to award palliatives and then improve the pay package or the pay structure of the workers. Now the federal government had not shown commitment to that. So when workers said these are our benchmarking tools, they asked the government, do you have anything proposing? Government had no working benchmark. You understand? Which means hitherto, the government or thought there would be maybe an underhand or maybe a scheduling that would just result in Labour going back to the negotiation table. Then Labour embarked on the strike, we are all aware. And the government said, we are going to pay you more than 60,000 naira. Before then, the government had said, we can only pay you 48,000 naira. From 48,000 naira, they came to 54,000. From 54,000, they came to 57. From 57 to 60. And then I said, we pay more than 60. Then the next we heard was 62,000 naira. People said urgent 2K. And the federal government added urgent 2K. You know, netizens said it was the Urgent 2K. And the federal government. And now, the truth about it is that if you look at it across countries, or if you're using country by country analysis, the specifics there, I think everything is clear that the Nigerian worker is underpaid. Now, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn into office, the first thing he did was to, after removing subsidy, was to give 70 billion naira to National Assembly. I'm talking about 469 persons or members, 260 at the House of Reps, and then 109 at the Senate. He gave these persons 70 billion naira, then gave the judiciary, the National Judicial Council, 35 billion naira. You understand? And then you ask yourself, ministers, government officials, those in the cabinet of this government, are they feeling the pains and the hardships occasioned by this current administration? And I would say no. Let me give you an instance. During the last administration under Muhammad Buhari, each time a minister traveled outside the shores of the country, he was paid or she was paid $1,000 per diem as Easter code. Now, if that a minister or if such a minister stays 3 days, they will be earning $3,000. Now, if they travel 10 times annually, and on the average they spend 2 days each, or on the average, you see that they are earning $20,000. Convert that to naira, that's about over 15 million naira, or even thereabout. How many Nigerian workers earn that per annum? How many Nigerian workers earn that per annum? So it should be the question. So you think the federal government has been spending? We've been talking about how the federal government is not even interested in cutting cost of governance. We have, for the first time, 48 ministers, the highest, the most bloated cabinet so far. It's not to talk about the highest number of advisors we've seen so far. Now, the president I've been asking someone, what different jobs do people like Ajuri Ngelale, who is the president's special advisor on media and publicity, and someone like what is that his name again? He's a special advisor on media, Bayo Onanoga. What is the difference? I think in terms of job prescription, what is the difference? You call this one special advisor to the president on media and publicity. Then you call the other one advisor on information and what? And strategy. The two of them have been busy releasing statements and counter statements that the president, for example, during the last Democracy Day, Bayo Ononoga said the president will be addressing the National Assembly. And I think the counter that really said no, it was not part of the protocol. So it tells you that we have people more than we need. You understand? In the government structure or in the governance structure, or who are in the pay or the federal government. So I think the federal government is not being sincere. What it is proposing is not to talk about the amount of money we keep hearing. So the other day we were talking about 15 trillion naira needed to build the coastal road project. Where was it coming from? Already we heard about the millions that had been actually voted out without, in some cases, as it was being alleged then, going through procurement law or respecting the environmental impact assessment, which ought to have been done. So I think it's unfortunate. The Nigerian worker is, I don't know, if I say underpaid, I am being conservative, but I think they are not even they are not even living. They are not even existing. They are dying. And they are dying of hunger because household finances keep shrinking. The price of commodities, prices, I'm not talking about price inflation, food crisis, food inflation, and all these things are bearing, in fact, negatively, harshly, on the livelihood of workers and then the average Nigerian.
All right. The governor sometime came up to say they cannot even afford the 60,000 naira, just like their local government. But I know we don't have a local government. We don't have existing local government system in Abia here, as far as I am concerned. And then, if the governors can come up to say, meanwhile, the NLC and TUC, they've not even accepted the 62,000 naira.
Exactly.
And then they're expecting something from Mr. President, which is yet to come up. And now, the governors are already saying they cannot afford 60,000 naira. And then, what do you think will happen?
The question wanting to ask before I came to a certain conclusion was that, to an extent, that shows insincerity on the part of these governors. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because governor of Edo State is awarding 70,000 naira.
70, yeah.
He's saying he will pay 70,000 naira. So where is he getting his own money from? We know a little thing or more about internally generated revenue. We also know about the revenue that comes monthly from the FAC or federal account. But let me say this, you see, most governors, even if you are to pay 30,000 naira, will not still pay. Many states, by not paying this 30,000 naira, the 30,000 naira we are even trying to increase, do not even consider it violation of the laws of the land to not pay that amount of money. Why? Because following the adjustment in 2019, an act, the National Assembly enacted a law. An act was actually passed, or a bill was passed into law to become an act. The National Minimum Wage Act of 2019. Governor Okezi Ikpeazu was there then for 4 years. His last 4 years, he didn't pay. Governor Oti has actually continued in that direction. You understand? That is serious violation of a national law which supersedes state law. Whether your state is saying we can pay 30,000 naira and it's also going about it in terms of trying to make a law, that law does not stand, because in the federation, the law of the central government or the federal government supersedes the law of the state. Now, many governors are in violation of this, and they are not even sincere to pay. Even when they have the money, some of them will not pay. Remember, certain governors received bailout funds, received Paris Club fund. Did they pay workers? They did not pay workers. They didn't even build infrastructure. Where are these money? So the question then becomes, it's a thing of morality. I think also, while saying that it is deception on the part of the government, we also have to blame the structure we have, the federal structure, the system we have, the imbalance in our federal structure. In a true federation, there is nowhere it happens that the state will depend on the federal government for handouts, monthly handouts. You begin to, as if the states are on a rent, or that they are, or that, you know. So I feel if it were to be true federalism in the real sense of the word, or federalism in the real sense of the word, it ought to be states paying royalties to the center. But I understand it was the fear that followed after the war that for which Gowon created states that led to the structure we have today. Because Gowon said if a part or a region in the country can actually mobilize resources and fight a war and execute a war against the center, it simply means they should not be in a position to control their resources, which they will leverage to do more harm. Now, they started creating states, I think by 1967, on the 27th day of May 1967, the first 12 states were created to weaken the structures we had there. But today, the implication is that we have many states that are not economically viable, that are just existing in names. They are just existing as landmass. If you remove the so-called federation allocation or the federal allocation, they cannot do anything, including paying workers, doing infrastructure, existing as a state. So we need to look at this agreement and see it's a large conversation that we need to be having. Then the one we talked about, the president saying he will be forwarding executive bill to the National Assembly. To me, that I don't know where that actually is, because I saw him say that during the broadcast, National Day of Democracy. He said that he will be forwarding to the National Assembly as agreed upon. You now ask yourself, who are agreeing? Yes. What are the terms agreed upon? This agreement, we know, must also involve labor. Labor, when we say organized labor, we are talking about the Trade Union Congress and the Nigerian Labor Congress. The two of them form what you call the organized labor. So they must be part of the negotiation to say, okay, this is what we are accepting because we have fallen on hard times. Many Nigerian families no longer eat 3 square meal a day. And I'll tell you this, you see, in 2018, when President Muhammadu Buhari then was talking much about lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, Brookings Institution released an assessment of poverty in the country. They said 88 million Nigerians were poor. 88 million Nigerians were poor. Then Buhari continued what he was doing through his SIPs, interventions, social investment programs, and then empowerment, palliative, even the one done by Central Bank where some cooperative and farmers were receiving money that actually went nowhere. Now, at the time another assessment came by 2020, 2021, it was reported that 133 million Nigerians had become multidimensionally poor. That means even in their education, in their security, in their livelihood, in their existence, in every aspect of living, they are poor multidimensionally. Now, if you are to subtract 88 million from 130, I think you'll be having about 45 million. So it simply means that in the intervening period, 45 million Nigerians or more became poor, meaning that the president, then the former president who promised to tackle poverty, actually failed woefully at it. Now, remember vividly also that the way the president has been spending, current president, I'm talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if you are a worker, you will not be happy. They were talking about, the other day, they were talking about private jets. They talked about using 21 billion naira to build a lodge for the vice president. That's 21 billion naira for the vice president. Now, listen, in Nigeria, we have gross inadequate housing, or let me say gross housing problem. Over 50% of the population in the urban centers, according to the source, are living in informal sectors or in informal settlements rather. You understand? Many people still living, even if you go to Lagos, people are still living under the bridge, shanties. But the federal government did not consider it wise to say how many housing units or how many units of housing or houses will 21 billion naira develop across the 36 states. But we are talking about building or touching what had been actually built that is existing with 21 billion naira. Now you ask yourself, where the vice president is staying or had been staying ever since they were sworn in last year, is the place leaking? Is there any fiscal problem or threat to the building they are staying? Now they need to buy 21 or to buy 2 more jets. You ask, how many jets do we even have in the presidential fleet? When are we going to go away with some? You understand? But the whole thing looks as if there is this gang up against the Nigerian poor. And that is why people are beginning to back level to say, if you must go to strike, go to strike. If you must shut down the economy, shut down the economy. At least if that can bring the government to the negotiation table. Because you see that government had been deploying underhanded tactics to address this issue. In most cases, we know that the industrial costs are national costs. You understand? And the most cases that the government had in the past had been able to use them to stop strike, to stop protest, to stop all manner of activism. You understand? So I am thinking that the federal government, it should be their priority to go back to the drawing table and see what can be done. Because as we speak now, a bag of rice, a bag of beans, even a bag of pepper, even a basket of tomato and pepper, by far outweigh the price or the minimum wage they are
talking about.
They are even proposing. You understand?
All right.
So there must be a middle ground to it.
All right. Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, who is the current president of Burkina Faso.
Yes, the military man.
Yes, when he took over office, even as a military man, a lot of people had expected this flamboyant system of life and so on. But as we speak, he still maintains that car. In fact, the SUVs he's supposed to give to the members of the cabinet, he used it to procure tractors to increase farming in Burkina Faso. When will Nigeria get to that level? When they stop talking about self and talk about individual?
And they stop talking about self and start talking about service.
Service.
Thank you so much.
When will it happen in Nigeria?
You see, I do not know whether it came from the naming. You say Burkina Faso. It simply means land of the upright. Burkina Faso means land of the just people, land of just men, land of the upright people, land of upright men, as renamed by Thomas Sankara. You understand? From Upper Volta, it became Burkina Faso. Now, you see, I think we have a problem. And let me also say it. Nigeria has been captured. There is this project, state capture. And all the persons you see at the corridors of power, whether they are governors, whether they are ministers, whether they are special assistants or whatever, they belong to the same cabal.
Yeah.
Whether the only thing dividing them is just political party. Party affiliation is what is dividing them. But interest is one, to capture power. not for service, not for the common good, but for the very sake of it, just to exercise power. And, or else, how will somebody be saying, or some persons be saying, it is their turn? You understand? It is so that speaks a lot. The kind of leadership we have today, they are not selfless. They have a lot of self-interest or agenda they are actually projecting for their welfare and welfare of their hangers on, not about people like us. And that is why, if you look at the strike, you see that all the promises, all the pledges the president committed, in fact, he made promises, he said, by, on, or before December of last year, refineries will start working. Are they working? They are not functioning. They will not come on stream.
We televised it here.
Yeah, they've not come on stream. He also said that the CNG vehicles will be imported. They have not arrived. And I don't know whether you've seen any. He also promised to improve the working condition of workers. He is still dilly-dallying. He's still playing politics with it as we speak. He also promised to establish CNG conversion plants across the federation. We are yet to see any. We have yet to see any, even as we speak now. So it goes along with it. I can begin to tell you the promises and promises the president made. You understand? When he removed subsidy, when he said, or when he announced the end of subsidy. So to me, I think we have leadership that lacks sincerity, that lacks empathy, that lacks affinity, or let me say, what it simply means to exist as the average Nigerian. It is because the kind of livelihood they enjoy. The president, we are even talking about the need for private jets. Whether or not they bought it, the president, they have traveled in 2 private jets to South Africa to witness the swearing-in ceremony of Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president. You understand? Now, it goes along with to tell you that it's not just about the poor. And I'm sorry to say it. Nigeria has been structured in a way it favors the few aristocratic class, the few. Some of them are moneyed class. Some of them are the political class. Some of them are in industry, owners of banks and the rest of them. And those people, they control the wealth, they call the shots. They are in the oil sector, they are in governance sector, they are in all the sectors. So decision taking favors them and not us. And that's why we are urging this government to go one better, not to go in the way of previous administrations, to see what it can do to give governance human face.
All right. About a week ago, the chairman of the NLC in Abia State here, while pleading with the governor of the state, our amiable governor, Dr. Alex Otti, he said Alex Otti has received more money than the past administrations. That is when he was asking Alex Otti to endeavor to pay even the arrears he promised not had been done. Even the 28th of every month, as we speak now, salaries have not been paid, of last month. And then, do you think Abia State should be directly involved, considering what the states are making? Because they are making more money now. And then why would a right-thinking person say they cannot pay up to 60,000 naira, considering the level of inflation in
the country? I think it begins with cutting cost of governance at all levels, at all tiers of government. At the local government,
I think Otti started with that.
At the states, yes, yes. We actually give it to him. He started with that. In fact, he had 19 commissioners from 17 local government councils. Unlike the past administration where you had about 26 to 28 commissioners, in excess of what number of councils or the number of councils you have. Now, going back to it again, I think the mistake I think the tripartite committee made was not to have included governors and council chairmen or the council or the representatives in the dialogue. Because we're talking about something that is minimum. We say minimum wage. In Igbo, they call it ego pekatampe. That's the minimum you can pay. So if as a registered private business, for example, we here now, as a registered business entity that reports profit and losses, we are supposed to pay people 60,000 naira. But are we part of the negotiation? Even local government, that's what I'm saying now. Are they part of the negotiation? So that's why it keeps worsening. Now, coming to Abia State government, each time I hear Labour threatening strike over the issues of the data capturing matter, you understand? And then other cumulative problems like emolument of salaries and emolument or salaries that have not been paid or are standing. It touches me because Governor Alex Oti was elected on the platform of Labour Party, which means if there is to be any industrial relations that actually understand better the working condition of workers, it should be here. Two, he promised to look into the welfare of workers. You understand? And to even clear all the backlog. Imagine in some instances, there were over 15 months adders of pension. And for 20 years, from 2002 to 2022, retirees didn't get their gratuity. They took to the streets in Umuahia. They complained of hunger, of neglect, of abandonment, of even being isolated. And the government of the day did not do anything. Now, the US President Administration came, said they were going to pay. Although we started hearing a lot of things we had seen, twists to it about a negotiation that happened behind the scenes and whatnot. But what I'm trying to say is that the governor must live up to billing, up to expectation, to make sure that Abians enjoy the dividends of democracy. And if at all there is an acceptable wage, if the state government or if the federal government will let us settle for something 62,000 or above, the governor should also do what? Make sure he pays. And again, I'm using this opportunity to urge him to continue with the 30,000 naira. Or to begin, no, to actually continue because it has not been there before.
It has not been there.
To begin this 30,000 naira minimum wage payment because that's the law. Any governor, not only him, there are many governors across the 33 states of the federation who are in violation of this law by not paying. Any governor that is not paying that money is not fit to receive salary. And that's why I love what Mbaka advocated. He said, if you cannot pay workers 62,000 naira, then pay yourself 62,000 naira. In other words, cut the cost of governance. In Nigeria, we make politics more lucrative and most times even attractive in terms of the pay package of lawmakers, of ministers, and what have you. Okay. And that is why you see them, they are just about themselves. In a country where things function, lawmakers, if you look at it, even America, there is a certain amount of money they are paid just to make them comfortable, not to make them super rich. In Nigeria, we pay them to be super rich. We pay hardship allowance. We pay them money to buy newspapers, which they can even use their phone to read. We pay them money for property, for furniture allowance. We pay them for, even up after completion of 4 years, they receive what is known as severance package. To me, this doesn't make sense.
You know about the president of Uruguay?
Yeah.
You've heard about that?
Yeah.
And he's referred to as the poorest president in the world.
Yeah.
Why?
You see, I mentioned the name here before, Thomas Sankara.
No, that is...
I mentioned the name before. Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
Just like the president of the Latin American country today,
yeah.
You mentioned. He said he was to have an air conditioner in his office. He asked whether every other Burkinabe was having a conditioner. They said, no, he said he doesn't need one. It comes from the point of humility. I'm sorry, the class of politicians or leaders we have today, are rapacious, thieving class. I'm sorry I'm saying this, but then that is what it is. You understand? If it is to serve collective interests, you won't have them there. It is for the personal gains they have that they are there. If at all we are to reverse the trend and say workers will now earn the millions lawmakers are earning, and the lawmakers will now earn the few thousands workers are earning, do you think any of those lawmakers will aspire to be in government?
They won't.
Or even the president or the governors as we have them today? None of them will aspire to be in office of power or in office of authority. They will want to be workers. That's the thing.
Okay, let us come back to our state here because too many things were promised, and that is why so many of us loved the governor and believed he was going to actually deliver. Because if you look at Bayelsa here, we know when Bayelsa state here is 65,000 naira, and then even Borno is 70,000, and so many other states like that, and that it's like Imo and What will government, what is government supposed to achieve without talking about the welfare of the people, the welfare of the led?
There is nothing the government will achieve in workers being poor. One, they constitute the highest chunk of tax. When we talk about tax administration, the taxes in Nigeria are opaque and vague. Many businesses don't even declare as much profit as they make to be properly or to be proportionately taxed. Many people even evade taxes. The real tax-paying agents are the workers,
Are the workers?
because their own is
Just like
getting from
the
source.
government now, as we speak, has increased their taxes.
Yeah, even other taxes too. I think what should be of interest to us is how do we give the worker an environment to thrive, and how do we make them productive? It is sad the condition we find ourselves in, and what is that condition? That the Nigerian worker cannot boast. In fact, the salary or the take-home pay cannot even take them home in most cases. In this condition, if you want to discourage bribery, corruption, nepotism, red tapeism, individualistic tendencies as they exist in the civil service cadre, you pay workers well. This explains why you go to the local government councils and are seeking to have or to be given a copy of a document. Maybe your local government authority, you are told to pay 5,000, 10,000, something you should be given freely. Then if you are looking for one particular document, maybe it may have to do with land, you pay thousands. If you are looking for something that you just need to photocopy, or you don't just need to make a copy of and return to them, you are also billed, because they will tell you, what will my children eat at home? You understand? So if we want to discourage corruption, we must make sure the working condition of the worker is looked into. If there is no money to do it, let me advise this. Governors receive security votes. But what are they doing with it every month? We also receive the federal allocation and revenue. But what are they doing with it? We also have internal revenue. A state like Abia, for example, should not think of itself as being poor.
No.
A state, I don't want to talk about the flying revenue, the ones that should come from vehicle or motorcyclists, KK operators, and the rest of them. Internally here, we have a lot of businesses, we have markets, we have few industries that can actually pay taxes. Government can also do other businesses where necessary. You have few corporations that can actually generate revenue. So I think the government owe it as a duty to cut more the cost of governance. Each time we see quarterly reports of spending on the budget, you see that if not that states are spending 900 billion naira or even a large sum on things like food, conference, flights, the rest of them, even buying data, internet for you see, begin to see it does not make sense. And I think I'm calling on governing class to give government and governance a human face. If not, what this may bet, they may not be able to handle it. People are hungry. And remember, if you talk about revolutions, if you talk about changes that had taken place in the past, hunger had always been at the center. For America to get independence, that is what they known as the Boston Tea Act or so. Sorry, the Tea Act. You understand? Then remember also that in France, the revolution was all about what? The cost of flour increasing. So the workers took to the street and said, we must win our bread and we must get the breadwinner. And they went after the king, Louis, and got him. So what I'm saying is that hunger, in Yoruba, they were saying it. Or something like that, to say hunger is affecting us. People were saying it, that they are hungry. Even the president, in his own state, in his own home state, was actually supposed to be welcome or receive a rousing or a loud welcome. But he came and they were shouting at him. They were shouting, they were heckling, and they were even calling him names. And then you begin to ask yourself, this same government that said it cannot pay more than 62,000 naira, what is the size of the vehicle in the retinue of the president and the vice? The other day, the president was just embarking, going for an official duty in Lagos. It was like, in fact, it was bigger than the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem. You saw a lot of vehicles.
All right,
and these vehicles are filled.
Yeah, time will fail us to continue. We are coming back next week with another thrilling topic, and I'm sure you're going to be there with us. We're going to look into Abia revenues and so on, expenses so far by this present administration compared to others. It is also very, very unfortunate to note that Ebonyi of yesterday is still in the same pace in terms of minimum wage with Abia and Zamfara, the lowest in the federation, and something must be done about that. I know our amiable governor started very well, and then people are also pouring encomiums on him because I think he has done a fine in cutting down the cost of governance in Abia State. But where are they implemented? Where are the finances coming out from this cut down? Where are they channeled to? It is very, very important, and it is always good to keep to your promise, just like we had of 26, 28 salaries will be paid, and so on. So we are saying, remember, life is not computed by its duration or by its donation. How long you live on earth is immaterial, but what you're able to put in the footprint of life as legacy is what matters so much. We want your name to be written in gold, and that is why we're asking that this minimum wage is important. Even 100,000 means nothing to an individual. As we speak, a bag of rice is just about 80,000 naira. And a pint of garri is about 3,500 to 4,000 naira. A pint of rice, more than that, the beans and so on. Beans used to be the commonest food before now. But today, even the poorest person cannot afford a cup of beans. It's about 600 or 500 naira. And this is what we're talking about. I think our government should be very, very considerate. And we know there is no need saying that some of them are insensitive. No. But they should know also that these people who voted them to power, they are all equally human beings. On that note, we'll be coming to the end of today's program on our minimum wage. We'll be back again same time next week, and then we're also going to come back with very wonderful trailing topic. Thank you for being there with us. And my comrade, our analyst, comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi, we thank you for being part of this program.
Thank you so much.
And this is your anchor man, Chinedum Godson Adiele, signing off for now until we come your way again. Bye for now.